It's definitely going to be a little bit on the weird side, especially if you're not into these deep kind of psychological, philosophical topics regarding existentialism and things of that nature. So if what I said makes no sense to you, you probably shouldn't watch this. But if you're here, let's go down the crazy rabbit hole and talk about some things that have been on my mind this morning. So, for those of you who don't know, look at this cat. Look at this cat. What's up, buddy? You want to talk to these guys about existentialism? Anyways, so for those of you who don't know, I've been on the mission to cut back on drinking and alcohol consumption in general, just because I feel like it's the right call for me, and I don't know, I've kind of been going down a little bit of a dark path. At least I think so. So I spent my morning watching YouTube videos about people, you know, who are like alcoholics or coping with addiction. I think mostly to get a bearing on where I stand, because there's no set standard for what an alcoholic actually is. So like the person who drinks one drink a night but thinks he has a problem because he has one drink a night is an alcoholic, while is the person who is, you know, drunk 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is also an alcoholic. But the weirdest thing about the videos I was watching is I found this guy I kind of resonated with, and he actually made me feel pretty good about myself, because this guy was like he would just pretty much drink all day, bottles of liquors around his bed, like he would just pass out like in his own vomit, like his drinking was just that insanely bad. But he got sober, and I was like watching his video. He was like 4 years sober or something like that, and I thought that was really cool. I'm like, wow, this guy was like this far down the rabbit hole with just like drinking every day, stealing liquor from the store, falling asleep in his own vomit and piss. Like, I am way far away from that. And the fact that he could like come back and get completely sober, and now he has this like booming YouTube channel about sobriety, was really cool. But then I saw his most recent video he posted like 2 days ago, and he's like, fuck, been drunk for like a week again or some shit like that. And then, I can't lie, I felt a little bit just kind of like disheartened. I'm just like, dang, like it was so nice to have that narrative in my head, like, oh, look at this guy who's been like way worse than me, he like bounced back. But turns out he didn't quite bounce back, because now he's relapsed and he's drinking again. And I think that's when I started thinking about the idea of just kind of like existentialism, the idea of us humans really needing to have things very concrete, absolute, resolute. It's early in the morning, haven't had my coffee yet. Cheers. But like these abstract ideas. So like what I was saying earlier about the idea of the alcoholic, like if the man who has one drink a day thinks he has a problem, then he does have a problem. Whereas the, I don't know, party boy who goes out binge drinking 4 or 5 nights a week, and let's be honest, in modern culture, just drinking all the time is kind of like a normal thing. If he just thinks he's like normal, living basic American lifestyle, but he doesn't think he's an alcoholic, then he doesn't have a problem, even though he drinks a lot. So like I was saying, I was like watching multiple videos from like multiple different sources and kind of people going through things, and I saw like both ways. There's guys who drink every day, like 5 drinks a day, who just don't think they have a problem, and it's completely fine. And then there's the guys who barely drink, who think they're an alcoholic. So it kind of got me thinking about this idea of absolutes, resolutes, and I guess you just kind of are what you think you are, or you become what you think you are. So it's kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for, mind-boggling to actually think about these like weird abstract concepts. So like for me, example, like I would want to say, well, I guess I'm not an alcoholic because I don't have all of this guy's issues. Yeah, I do drink a good amount, but I'm far from it. And then if I buy into that mindset, then maybe my liver craps out 10 years from now, or I get like atrial fibrillation or like some other disease because I didn't correct my lifestyle just yet, just because I didn't want to believe that I had a problem. But then vice versa, if I believe I do have a problem, then I just kind of get like anxious and like real frenetic, and I start thinking about how often I'm drinking. Then I'm like, maybe I shouldn't ever drink again. And then the idea of like never drinking again is equally as daunting, because, you know, let's be real, I want to have a drink on my wedding night, whenever that happens. Special occasions, you know, especially first dates. You know, I can't say alcohol's all bad. I've had great times drinking. I've also had a couple bad times drinking, which is leading me to like really want to cut back. So then I'm kind of left at this like precipice in this standpoint. And I think this is the idea between people who really debate life and death and like the concept of religion, is that we just want solidarity and just to know, like to have an absolute and the truth. And this is why you see people who are just, and I'm not making any kind of standpoint on like religion, the validity of it, or being not religious. I don't care. You do you. I believe there's something else out there. I consider myself spiritual. As far as having a set path, not quite so much. So anyways, when you look at people with like these deep religious philosophies, views, values, who just buy into like the idea of like the Bible, or like this is good, this is bad, what happens is they don't actually just have to like think for themselves, and they don't have to have these kind of like moral debates internally. And a lot of them just end up being really happy because they just, you know, believe they do their best while they're here, then the best happens to them. And honestly, it does take away a lot of the mental stress. That's why you see people gravitating toward religion, especially when they've had like hard upbringings and, you know, just traumatic past, because it's so much easier to buy into just a end-all be-all concept than have to actually go through the struggle of debating. But then you have the other end of the spectrum, which is like a little bit more where I'm at, where, you know, I believe there's something else out there, but I also know the more I learn, the more I realize how little I do know. And then, do I really want to live forever? I mean, in the consciousness of me right now, just being a normal human, the idea of living forever is daunting, like having like 17 wives or getting divorced after 1,000 years. Can you imagine the trauma of that? Like, it doesn't seem like a world I would want to live in. And the idea of an afterlife, I mean, I guess it's cool because no one ever wants to really say like, oh, goodbye world, that's all, let it end, and like, you know, just RIP, whatever. But at the same time, like, if the afterlife is like just being alive, like everything's kind of the same, then I don't think it'd be cool. It would be cool if we go into like some kind of weird higher consciousness that I can't even comprehend at the level of consciousness I'm at now. I don't know, I guess. But like, you see where I'm going with this. It's just silly. Like, both ways you go, there's like arguments, there's like wins, but then there's also flaws. Like with the hyper-religious person, literally, like, you know, they believe what they believe, but then they're very closed off and intolerant of any other beliefs that kind of mess with that solidarity or just mental concreteness that they have with their faith. But then vice versa, if you just believe yourself to be a practical, open-minded person, then you never actually get that solidarity because you're always like, well, fuck, I don't really know anything. So bringing this back to like the idea of the alcoholic people I was watching on YouTube today, like watching that video, like, it kind of creeped me out. Like, just this guy being you know, like way down the rabbit hole, and then he just like started drinking again, and now he's all fucked up. Like, and that's like the issue when you buy into the idea of you being an alcoholic, is that like you're just that much more devastated when you just go out and you have a drink or something like that. Or maybe just one drink becomes a problem because you built up that mental narrative. You decide to just binge drink because that's just who you are. And it seemed like a mess. And I consider myself to be a pretty confident person. I don't want to say I'm like an alcoholic or some weird shit like that, because part of me is like a very confident, like self-driven guy. Like, I'm in control of my own destiny. I do what I want to do. Like, I'm never going to be like a victim of like anything. I don't believe that at all. So what would be the second option? Well, the second option is, I guess I don't have a problem. I'm just a normal American guy. As I go out, I like having drinks, and it's all fine and dandy. Until like maybe 10 years down the road, I'm like yellow or something. You know, like John Nista got like liver issues. So what is the answer? Like, which do you associate with? And this is the whole reason why I'm doing the video. And I think at some point, you just have to be. Like, just be. Breathe. Be in the moment. And this is like the idea behind like meditation, is that, you know, you don't know what the future holds. And in fact, I think our society, we think too much, and too much thinking is just a bad thing. It's chaotic. Like, it's the reason why I'm like making this video right now. But you kind of see like the conflicting, never-ending mental cycles of just the scenario I threw out there. So what's the answer? Do you associate with one? Do you associate with the other? Do you believe you know it all? Do you believe you don't? I don't know. I don't have the answer. But I think learning to just take a breath, be in the present moment, and just be is definitely a solid first step, guys. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, I don't really have the answers, and I think the answers are ultimately for us to decide, for you to decide. You create your own narrative for this world you're living in. You create your own story. You decide what is a problem and what's not a problem for you. And, you know, whichever one you want to buy into, I think at the end of the day, all we got to do is do our best, try to live a greater destiny, or one that we want to live, and then just be. Do you. Yeah, just be, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment down below and let me know what your views are. I'm interested to hear.